The rooftop lounge at the Elmery Hotel buzzed with energy. Laughter, clinking glasses, and the low hum of live jazz filled the air. Golden string lights draped above cast a soft glow over the long dining table where my colleagues and I sat, celebrating. Tonight was supposed to be special. My night. For the past 5 years, I had poured my heart into Turner & Wells, often staying late, solving problems no one else wanted to touch, and mentoring new hires even though it was never required. My boss, Gregory Lang, had spent months dropping hints, telling me I was next in line for the Director of Client Strategy role. And tonight, at this very celebration, my promotion was to be announced. I had replayed the moment in my head 1,000 times, the applause, the pride, the validation. I smoothed the hem of my deep green dress and glanced around the table. My team was in high spirits, toasting the firm's latest acquisition. At the head of the table, Gregory rose, tapping his wine glass with a fork, signaling for attention. The room quieted. My heart pounded with anticipation. Tonight, he began, his rich voice cutting through the chatter. I want to acknowledge someone truly outstanding, someone who has demonstrated immense dedication, talent, and leadership in such a short span of time. It's rare to see this kind of impact in just 3 months. My smile faltered. 3 months? Gregory turned toward my colleague, Avery Shaw. Avery, the newcomer. Avery, he continued, you've surpassed every expectation. Your creativity, adaptability, and strategic thinking have made waves, which is why I'm honored to announce your promotion to Director of Client Strategy. Congratulations. The room burst into applause. I sat frozen, my fingers gripping the stem of my champagne glass. My throat tightened as I forced a smile. I clapped along with the others, as Avery blushed and graciously accepted the role that was supposed to be mine. This couldn't be real. The floor seemed to shift beneath me as Gregory turned toward me, as though just remembering I was still there. He grinned. And of course, Madeline, you've been such a valuable part of the team, he said. We appreciate everything you do. That was it. A hollow pat on the back after 5 years of loyalty. I swallowed hard and smiled wider. Of course. Avery absolutely deserves it, I said, raising my glass in a toast. Gregory nodded. She already does more than you, Madeline. You might want to take some notes. Laughter. Avery chuckled awkwardly and muttered, "Oh, I wouldn't go that far." But it was too late. The words hung in the air like a slap. I laughed along with them. What else could I do? Cry, beg, ask him why he led me on just to humiliate me. Better to memorize this moment instead. I lifted my glass to my lips and took a slow sip. As the night wore on, I smiled. I chatted. I celebrated. But inside, a storm was brewing. When the party finally ended and I stepped out into the cool New York night air, I pulled out my phone. My fingers trembled slightly as I composed a short, simple email to HR. Subject: resignation letter. Submission: Dear Gregory, please find my official resignation letter attached. Effective immediately. Best, Madeline. I hesitated for only a second before hitting send. As soon as the email left my outbox, I took a deep breath. For the first time in years, I felt something unexpected. Relief. But I wasn't done yet. On Monday, Gregory Lang was about to find out exactly what happens when you underestimate the wrong person. The office felt different that morning. I walked through the lobby of Turner & Wells Tower with a sense of quiet satisfaction, my resignation letter already waiting in his inbox. He had no idea what was coming. At first glance, everything appeared normal. The receptionist gave me a bright smile. My colleagues lingered near the break room, sipping coffee and rehashing weekend plans. Avery was already at her desk, glowing in the aftermath of her surprise promotion. I wasn't angry at Avery. She hadn't done anything wrong. The real problem sat in the corner office. The man who had lied to me for months, who made me believe I mattered, just to discard me like an old spreadsheet. I took my time settling in, placed my bag beside my desk, powered up my computer. I wanted Gregory to come to me, and right on cue his office door swung open. Madeline, my office. Now. The entire floor went silent. Heads turned. Eyes darted. No one had ever heard him sound like that. Urgent, rattled, maybe even a little afraid. I stood slowly, smoothed my blouse, and walked into his office with calm precision. The door clicked shut behind me. Gregory was already at his desk, my resignation letter printed out and lying between us. He looked up, scanning my face like he was trying to figure out if this was real. "You're leaving?" His voice was disbelieving. "Yes." I sat across from him, folding my hands neatly in my lap. "Effective, immediately." "But why? This is sudden. We didn't discuss this." I let out a soft laugh. "We didn't discuss Avery's promotion either. But here we are." His jaw tightened. "Madeline, that wasn't personal. She just outperformed you. She's been here for 3 months." I said, tilting my head. "But sure, if that's what you believe." Gregory leaned forward slightly, eyes searching. "You know I appreciate you, right? You've been such an important part of Turner and Wells for 5 years. I don't want to lose you." I stared at him, letting the silence set. The sheer audacity of his words almost amused me. "You don't want to lose me?" I repeated, raising an eyebrow. "But you had no problem overlooking me for a promotion I spent years earning. You had no problem watching me be humiliated at what was supposed to be my celebration. And you had no problem telling me to take notes from someone who's barely made it through a probation period." His expression faltered. The smugness melted away, replaced by a flicker of something he rarely showed: uncertainty. "Look," he said, dragging a hand through his hair. "Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I should have handled it differently. But resigning out of nowhere, this isn't the right move, Madeline. You're making an emotional decision." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I sent that email on Friday night, Gregory. If this was just emotion, I would have stormed out that same evening. But I didn't. I planned this, and I'm leaving on my terms." His hand curled into a fist on the desk. He wasn't used to losing. "So what's your plan?" he asked, voice sharper now. "Go to one of our competitors? 'Cause I have to remind you, Madeline, we have non-compete agreements." I laughed again, quietly but with purpose. "Oh," I said, "you really have no idea. I don't need to go to a competitor. I stood up slowly, deliberately. While you were busy ignoring my contributions, someone else wasn't." He frowned. "What do you mean?" I took a deep breath, letting the moment stretch. "Do you remember Eli Grant, the CFO you pushed out last year?" Gregory stiffened. Of course, he remembered. Eli had been one of Turner and Wells' sharpest minds, but he and Gregory had clashed too often. Gregory forced him out, assuming he was replaceable. "Eli reached out to me a few months ago," I continued. "He's launching a new firm, Grant Stratagem Group, and he asked me to come on board as director of operations. I turned him down at first," I said, leaning in slightly, lowering my voice. "I was loyal to this company, but Friday night changed everything. I called him after the party, and he made the offer again. I accepted." Silence. Pure, unfiltered shock. Gregory stared at me like he was trying to decode a foreign language. "You're leaving for Eli's company?" he finally asked, voice tight. "I start next Monday," I confirmed. He opened his mouth, closed it, then exhaled sharply. "Madeline, be reasonable. This company has been your home for 5 years. We can work something out. We can—" "I don't want to talk," I interrupted him smoothly. "This decision is final." He clenched his jaw. "You won't be able to come back." I smiled. "I won't need to." I turned, walking toward the door. Just before I stepped out, I paused and looked over my shoulder. "You know, Gregory," I said quietly, "it's funny how you only realize someone's worth when they walk away." Then I walked out, closing the door behind me, leaving him alone with the consequences of his own arrogance. And it felt amazing. When I stepped back into the open office, the atmosphere had shifted. The usual Monday morning chatter had dissolved into a thick, uneasy silence. Heads peeked over cubicle walls, eyes flicked toward me, then away. They knew something had happened, and soon, they'd know exactly what. Back at my desk, I opened my inbox with serene calm. I typed up a brief message and forwarded my resignation letter to the entire executive leadership team. Subject: official resignation notice. Effective immediately. I am stepping down from my position at Turner and Wells. It has been an experience I will not forget. Best, Madeline. Simple, professional, but the message underneath was loud and clear. I was done. Seconds later, the whispers began. One voice, then another, spreading like wildfire across the floor. I didn't have to wait long before someone approached me. Madeline, is it true? I turned to see Nina, one of the only people I actually trusted there. Her eyes were wide with shock. I nodded, offering her a small smile. Yeah, it's time for me to move on. She exhaled, shaking her head in disbelief. Wow, wow. I mean, I get it. But I didn't think you'd actually do it. Neither did Gregory, I said dryly. She let out a scoff of a laugh. Well, he's a fool. Everyone here knows you deserve that promotion. A few more coworkers drifted nearby, pretending to sort papers or check calendars, but clearly eavesdropping. Even Avery had peeked over her monitor, her eyes bouncing between me and Gregory's closed door like she didn't know whether to feel guilty or relieved. She looked like she wanted to say something, but didn't, and honestly, I didn't care anymore. 10 minutes later, just as I was packing up the last of my things, my inbox pinged. Subject, urgent, let's talk, meeting request, 15 minutes, location, my office. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then sighed. Desperate men do desperate things. I took my time walking back to his office. When I stepped inside, the door clicked shut behind me. Gregory looked different now. The arrogance, gone. The smugness, gone. He looked like a man who had just realized he'd made a very big mistake. Madeline, he started, leaning forward. Let's talk about this. You're making a rash decision. I let out a soft laugh. Gregory, I gave this company 5 years of my life. The only rash decision here was you. His lips pressed into a tight line. Look, I admit I mishandled the promotion, Gregory said. But we can fix this. I'll match whatever Eli is offering you. I tilted my head slightly. You don't even know what Eli's offering me. Does it matter? He snapped. We'll figure something out. I can get you a better salary, more flexibility, maybe even. I held up a hand, cutting him off. You don't get it, do you? Silence. I leaned forward. It was never about the money. It was about respect. His jaw tense. I don't want to stay at a company where my work is invisible until I threaten to leave. I don't want to be matched only when I have one foot out the door. If I wasn't valuable to you before, why should I believe I suddenly am now? Gregory's nostrils flared. He wasn't used to losing control of the conversation. Madeline, be reasonable. You're walking away from a stable position for what? Some startup that might not even make it. I smiled. That startup is being built by someone who actually values what I bring to the table. I'd rather bet on myself than stay in a place that treats me like I'm disposable. I stood up. Goodbye, Gregory. Packing the last of my things felt serene. As I carried the box to the elevator, a few coworkers clapped softly, small, hesitant acknowledgments of a quiet, well-earned victory. They knew. Avery, still sitting at her desk, finally stood up and walked toward me. Madeline. I didn't know. I raised an eyebrow. Didn't know what. Her mouth opened, then closed again. She knew. Of course she did. Maybe she hadn't orchestrated it, but she'd benefited from it. It's fine, Avery, I said, not unkindly. Enjoy the promotion. She flinched. But I was already stepping into the elevator. As the doors slid shut, I let out a slow breath. This wasn't just the end. This was the beginning. The Monday after I walked out of Gregory Lang's office for the last time, I stood in front of a sleek glass building in Midtown. Grant Stratagem Group. Eli's firm was smaller than Turner & Wells, but it pulsed with energy and momentum. It was filled with people building something, not just maintaining a machine someone else had designed decades ago. I stepped through the doors and felt something I hadn't in years. Excitement. No more being overlooked. No more being taken for granted. No more Gregory. As the elevator climbed to the top floor, I caught my reflection in the mirrored doors. I looked different, more confident, more alive. This wasn't just a new job. This was freedom. The moment I stepped into my new office, a real office, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a door I could actually close, I knew I had made the right decision. The morning was filled with introductions, strategy briefs, and onboarding paperwork, but it all felt different. lighter. For one, people actually listened. During my first leadership meeting, Eli turned to me with a warm smile. Madeline, I want you to take the lead on our new initiative. We're restructuring operations, and with your experience, you're the best person for it. Just like that. No politics, no proving myself over and over. They already knew my worth. I nodded, suppressing the urge to look around to make sure this wasn't some sort of test. I'd love to, I said simply. A few of my new colleagues smiled in approval. Eli nodded like he expected no other answer. This was how things should be. No games, no ego, just respect. The first sign things were unraveling back at Turner and Wells came 2 days later. My phone buzzed with a message from Nina. Madeline, OMG. Gregory is losing it. Ever since you left, everything's a mess. I smirked but kept reading. He had to call an emergency meeting because no one knows how to handle half the things you used to do. Turns out Avery doesn't actually do more than you already. She doesn't even know what she's doing. I laughed out loud. Of course, Gregory had overestimated Avery's performance and underestimated mine. A second message buzzed in. Oh, and get this. 3 clients already reached out asking for you by name. When they found out you left, they weren't happy. I felt a surge of satisfaction. Gregory had spent years taking me for granted. Now he was learning the lesson he should have learned a long time ago. Some people are not replaceable. That afternoon, while reviewing operations briefs in my new office, my assistant poked her head in. Madeline, you have a call on line 1. A company called Pearson Lang Consulting. They said they used to work with you and want to talk about moving their account over. I blinked. Pearson Lang was one of the biggest clients at Turner and Wells. Put them through, I said, keeping my voice steady, even though my heart was pounding. A moment later, I heard the familiar voice of Logan Pierce, the CEO of Pearson Lang Consulting. Madeline, he said warmly, I heard you've moved to Grant Stratagem Group. I leaned back in my chair, a slow, knowing smile spreading across my face. Of course, Logan. What can I do for you? Within a week, 3 of my former firm's largest clients had reached out, each expressing the same frustration. Things haven't been the same since you left. We don't feel like we're in good hands anymore. And so, one by one, they left. Not because I asked. I didn't need to steal clients. They came on their own because they trusted me, not the company I had left behind. And Gregory? He was scrambling. Nina kept me updated, in real time. Nina, Avery is drowning. She's not ready for this role at all. I heard Gregory yelling in a leadership meeting this morning. Nina, the board is furious. They're bleeding accounts, investors are panicking. Word is, they've given Gregory an ultimatum. Fix this, or step down. I could only imagine the look on his face. Panic, twisting into desperation. And the best part, I wasn't trying to hurt him. I was just thriving somewhere else. That Friday afternoon, as I closed out another successful week, my phone buzzed. An email. From Gregory. I raised an eyebrow and opened it. Subject, a proposal. Madeline, I'd like to have a conversation. I believe we can come to a mutually beneficial arrangement. If you're open to it, let's schedule a meeting next week to discuss options. Looking forward to your response, Gregory. I leaned back in my chair and laughed softly. Desperate. For the first time in 5 years I had all the power. I stared at his email for a few seconds, letting the irony sink in. The same man who dismissed me with a smirk. The same man who told me Avery does more than you already. Now he was the one reaching out. And I knew exactly why. His world was falling apart. I crafted my reply with surgical precision. No urgency. No emotion. Just control. Subject read, a proposal. Gregory, I'm available for a brief meeting Monday at 10 a.m. Let me know if that works for you. Best, Madeline. I hit send and closed my laptop. I wasn't walking into that meeting to negotiate. I was walking in to watch him squirm. At exactly 10:00 a.m., I walked into the sleek glass lobby of Turner and Wells Tower, the very building I had left behind weeks ago. Everything felt different. The receptionist blinked in surprise, clearly unsure if I was a guest or a ghost. Employees paused mid-conversation. Heads turned. Eyes widened. They all knew. They knew the storm I had left behind. And now, I was back on my terms. And then as I stepped into Gregory's office, I saw him. He looked terrible, dark circles under his eyes, his shoulders tense, fingers tapping restlessly on the desk. Gone was the arrogant executive, who once smirked as he told me to take notes. Now he looked like a man unraveling. "Thanks for coming in," he said, forcing a tight smile. I sat down, crossing my legs and folding my hands in my lap. "Of course. What's on your mind?" He exhaled heavily and leaned forward. "I won't waste your time." "We need you back, Madeline." I said nothing, just let the words dangle in the air, thick with irony. He continued, "I underestimated your role here. I'll admit that. But we can make this right. If you return," he said, straightening up, "I'm prepared to offer you a substantial raise, a senior executive title, and full decision-making authority over your department." He sat back like he had just played his best card, clearly expecting me to be impressed. I wasn't. I tilted my head slightly. "So let me get this straight," I said calmly. "You had 5 years to recognize my value, 5 years to promote me, 5 years to respect my work." I let the silence settle, heavy and deliberate. "But instead," I continued, "you handed the promotion to someone with 3 months of experience and told me to take note. And now, after bleeding clients and watching your company spiral out of control, now you're offering me everything I already earned?" Gregory's jaw tightened. "Madeline, come on." I held up a hand, stopping him cold. "Let me ask you something. If I never left, would I be sitting in this chair right now? Would you have given me this offer out of appreciation, or are you only doing it now because you're desperate?" The silence that followed said everything. He tried to mask it, but I saw the truth in his eyes. He had never truly seen my worth until it cost him everything. I let out a soft, amused laugh. "That's what I thought." His desperation finally broke through the surface. "Madeline, be smart about this. You have history here. A future. Do you really want to throw away all the hard work you put into this company?" I smiled, standing slowly, smoothing my blazer with deliberate calm. "Gregory," I said, leaning forward just slightly, my voice low and clear, "you still don't get it, do you? I never needed you. You needed me. And now, finally, you're realizing that." His face darkened, but I saw it, the flicker of panic behind his eyes. I turned toward the door, but paused just before stepping out. "You should take notes, Gregory," I said softly, echoing the same words he once used to humiliate me. "Maybe next time, you'll learn to value the people who actually make your company run." Then I walked out, and this time I never looked back. Back at Grant's Stratagem Group, things were thriving. Our client roster had nearly doubled. One by one, companies were jumping ship from Turner and Wells and coming to us. The tide had turned, and I was on the right side of it. And then, on a quiet Friday afternoon, Nina sent me one final update that made me laugh out loud. Gregory just got fired. The board forced him out. They couldn't recover from the client losses. Investors pulled the plug. I leaned back in my chair, sipping my coffee, a slow smile spreading across my face. Perfect. Gregory had spent years thinking I was replaceable. Turns out he was. And me, I was exactly where I was meant to be. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come after the deepest betrayals. Madeline's story is a powerful reminder that being overlooked doesn't mean you're not worthy. It means you're in the wrong room. For 5 years, she gave everything to a company that only saw her value once it was too late. And when she walked away, she didn't just reclaim her dignity. She built something stronger. Something real. Her courage, calm defiance, and refusal to settle for crumbs are lessons we all need. If you've ever been passed over, underestimated, or told to take notes while someone else got credit for your hard work, this story is for you. It's never too late to walk away, start fresh, and rise higher than anyone expected. If this story moved you or reminded you of your own journey, please hit that like button, subscribe to support more empowering content like this, and share it with someone who needs the inspiration. And I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your region or country in the comments below. Let's connect and build a community where respect, resilience, and real stories matter.